All right. Hello, everyone. This is the second episode of Tax Talk with Ethan Rooshock. So I'll wait a few seconds and hopefully a few people will join. All right. Looks like a few people are starting to join now. So we're live on Facebook and YouTube over here. We've got TikTok over here for the first time. So we'll see how this all goes, see how it all gets put together. So like I said, this is the second week in a row that I've been doing this. So I'm hoping to bring this into a weekly thing on Wednesday nights. Hopefully it'll be around 7:30 South Australian time. So for those joining me now, make sure you come back and check it out each week. So what will be pretty much is a bit of Q&A, and that'll be live Q&A. There's been some questions thrown in during the week, so make sure you do that next time. I'll make sure I chuck in some posts on Instagram and Facebook, but you'll be able to have the chance to ask some live questions there. And then during the stream, make sure you chuck questions in and we'll see how we go. So if the audio is working, if someone on Facebook or someone that's over on YouTube can let me know, someone on TikTok over there, make sure you let me know to make sure the audio is all good, and then we can get started. So I can see the comments section's obviously working on YouTube, which is great. So I have the ability to highlight comments if they come up. So like this. So hi, Mum. And anyway, so that will be something I can do. So like I said, for those that are just joining me, I'm Ethan Rooshock, and this is the second edition of Tax Talk with Ethan Rooshock. So what I'm going to do by starting with is going to go through some of the comments that were left during the week on Instagram. So I'll bring some of those up. So let's see. The first one we have here was, so this one was asked us, why did you choose to become an accountant? So for me, I was always good with numbers going through school. So that's obviously something that I thought, okay, this is something I'm good at. My other passion was sport. I was all right at sport, but definitely nothing good enough to make a career. So I always thought, okay, I want to do either something in sport or something with numbers. So it was a decision on that. And I still wasn't sure. Honestly, I finished year 12 at school and really still had no idea what I actually wanted to do. So I couldn't decide whether I was going to go for something with numbers or sport, and end up going down the numbers route and wasn't sure how that would end up. So I thought maybe I would try and look at maybe something in a bank. So that was the first thing I thought about. But then I heard a lot of people go, oh, why don't you go into accounting? And I suppose everyone knows of accountants. So everyone gets a tax return done. So everyone goes to an accountant. And I was like, okay, well, that seems like a career that obviously there's plenty of work in, plenty of need for. And I always had a passion for business. I always loved thinking of different little business ideas I could think of and things like that. So what I decided to do was I ended up registering for uni. I was lucky enough to score a position where I was able to work while I was studying. And that's how I ended up in the accounting career. So it wasn't necessarily something I thought of from a young age. I don't think anyone at school, probably when they're in primary school and stuff like that, whether they even know about that. So it was a decision I made not until after I finished school. So I think that goes to show anyone that if you're not sure what you want to do, you don't have to make that decision when you're 15 years old. You don't have to make that decision at 25 years old. So so that's how I ended up in the accounting industry. And then, obviously then I did that, worked for someone else for 6 or 7 years, and then I've ended up going out on my own. So that's kind of how the journey started there. So that will lead well into the next question I've got, which was, what was your drive to start your own business? So starting my own business. So then I decided, okay, I really enjoy what I'm doing here with the accounting. I'm really enjoying the business side, but I was really passionate for running businesses or helping clients with businesses. And that's when I discovered, okay, well, maybe I should do this for myself. I've got so much knowledge about how to run a business through different bits and pieces I tried. So I tried a few online retail stores, but obviously my main knowledge of day-to-day knowledge of studying and then working was in accounting. So I thought, well, why not start my own accounting business? Do I have the skill set? I know I'm young, but I can learn it. I can keep putting the hours in and see how that goes. So that's where that come from. So it was that drive from a young age of wanting to run businesses and help clients with businesses. So I thought, what better industry to get into with one where I can put the skills in, test, trial different things and see how that works and run my own business, but also then get to help people with running their businesses. So that's probably one of my favorite parts of the job, is that I can go and help clients with their own businesses. And I can't run 10 businesses at once, but by being an accountant, it allows me to work with 10 different types of businesses and implement some of what I think would be good ideas into those industries. So it might be, oh, cool, someone's doing retail and I've got some great ideas on how I think you could grow a retail business. So I can help a business owner with that. At the same time, I might be a P2 and I might go, oh, this is a great way. I think you could get more clients to take up your personal training sessions. So I can help them with that as well. And then obviously that flows into the tax laws that I can then implement, all your tax returns and all that kind of compliance work, but also allows me to do a lot of advisory work with clients and really just help people in general running their businesses. And that's something that's really cool about being an accountant and running your own business in an accounting business. And then, so another question I got here was, what do you feel is lacking in Australia's accounting industry? So something that I feel is lacking a bit in the accounting industry is maybe sometimes there's a lot of cloud accounting coming into things these days, but sometimes businesses are afraid to adapt, and that might come due to, say, their accountants maybe not really pushing them to the benefits of going onto cloud software. So I think in Australia, we are one of the forefronts when it comes to cloud software, but cloud software goes beyond just accounting. So a lot of people that are running businesses may be aware of something called Xero. So that's a software where you run your accounting through, and it's great. It's honestly changed the whole accounting industry here in Australia and New Zealand. But I don't think a lot of business owners are getting the support from their accountant to go, okay, what else can we integrate with that? Is it an online point of sale system and things like that? So that's probably one thing. And then I think, unfortunately, as things are changing, a big one is cryptocurrency, is a lot of accountants aren't willing to learn new things. So it's really holding the industry back, that people are going, oh, no, I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't want to learn anything new. I don't want to learn about new products or new software or even new tax treatments like what cryptocurrency is. So therefore, they don't necessarily put that time in. They go, I've already spent the time studying. And therefore, sometimes some accountants aren't able to communicate some of these new things that people are actually wanting to know about. And then, so another thing with that is that the lack of communication from other accountants can be crazy. I think so many clients come to me and they go, oh, my accountant never gets back to me. I was only speaking to someone today who their main reason that they were looking for a new accountant because their accountant never replies to them or takes forever to get back to them, won't answer their phone calls. And that's really disappointing, because with the tools that we have these days with social media or emails or phone calls, we can really communicate with people a lot quicker. And there's no excuse to not get back to people. Service is so important in running any business. So I think it's disappointing that the accountancy industry has such a bad name for actually getting back to people. So that's really probably the most disappointing thing in the industry, is the lack of communication. But I also think the good thing is that's an easy fix. It's really easy to communicate with people. It's just simply replying to people. And that's why in my business, I have a thing where I guarantee that I'll get back to a call or an email within 24 hours. So all that means is me going, okay, I might not be able to answer their query in full in 24 hours, but at least I can acknowledge it. I think people just want acknowledgement to know that someone is looking into what they've asked. So it might be a similar email, go, yeah, thanks for your query. Look, I'm pretty flat out for the next couple of days, but look, I've blocked some time in my calendar to look into it and I'll get back to you. And then delivering on that, getting back to people. I think that's so important in any industry, any business that you're running, to actually get back to people. By getting back to people, people start to build that trust with you. And by building trust, you create loyal customers and people that will actually remain with you for a lifetime. So I hope that's kind of answered that question. It's good to see we've got 13 people live over here on Facebook and YouTube. I'm not sure. So we've got most of them are split between Facebook and YouTube. We've got an almost even split there. Over on TikTok, I'm not sure how I can see. I think we've got a couple over there, which is great. So I'll now make sure for those that are over on Facebook, if you haven't checked out my YouTube channel, make sure you do that. Head over to YouTube. So it's just Ethan Rooshock over on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, because that really helps with me getting the message out to more people, gets more people on these live streams. The more people we can have, the more interesting it'll be, because I think the Q&A is something I really want to get into. The more comments that are coming in, the more I can provide value and individual value, which I think will be really cool. So, and if you're over on Facebook or YouTube, hit that like button. I want to see those likes go up. At the moment, I think we have 5 on Facebook. So make sure people are hitting that like button. And I want to let's see if we can get that to 10 by the end of this video. So if you're on Facebook, hit the like, hit the love heart. Let's get that up. So, and of course, like both the pages. So we're live on 2 Facebook pages at the moment. So if you're on TikTok, head over there and hit the like on the Ethan Rooshock page or the Rooshock Accounting page. And we'll jump back in. I think we've got a few questions here in the comments. So when should you start adding your own money towards super? So this is a bit of a tough one and not one that I can personally answer. So unfortunately, this is a real lack in the industry of being able to provide advice. So there's really strict licensing on who can provide advice on super. So you end up having to go to someone that's got a licensing in financial planning. But unfortunately, for them to provide a service to you, they have to do a lot of groundwork and it's quite time consuming for them. Therefore, the cost is quite high. I was only reading a study the other day about how so many people are put off of getting financial advice because I think people are willing to pay, I think the study said between $250 and $550 for advice. And currently to get that level of advice that they're looking for, they'd be looking at about $5,000. So, sorry, about $2,500 to $5,000. So you can see there's a big gap between what people are willing to pay and what it actually costs to get that advice. So, so unfortunately, as a tax agent, I can't provide advice on putting money into super. I can't say go and put money into super. I can give you advice on how the tax works on that. So obviously you potentially could be eligible for personal contributions that you can claim as a concessional contribution, but there's no surefire way to go, okay, put money into super now or don't do it. So it's not something I can advise, but it's definitely something that people can look into and have a look at some of the long-term benefits of, say, compound interest. So by investing early and putting money into super on top of what your employer is putting in, see what the benefits will that be long term. So a lot of the super websites, they'll have the ability for you to actually go on there and map out some different scenarios of how it will look if you make regular contributions on top of what's going in. And obviously, if you're really wanting that really in-depth personal advice, speak to an advisor. I know it might cost you, but if you have a look at the long-term benefits, it might benefit you. So, but you really want to make sure that the advisor you're speaking to, it has your best interests at heart. So you don't want someone that says, but move all your funds to this fund just because they're getting a better commission on the back end. So something to be careful of. But unfortunately, it's not something I can actually help with. So got another question here. When you reach the top marginal tax rate, it might be worth it. I'm not quite sure what that was in reference to. So if you want to leave a further comment on that one, and then I can probably jump in there. So if people are wanting to ask some questions, make sure you leave some questions over there on the YouTube or on Facebook. I can see both streams of comments coming in. So make sure you do that because then I can answer some more questions. So I think that would be really cool to provide some value to you individually. So I did have one more question that was sent during the week. So I'll just bring that one up now. So we had, is it worth claiming travel for work when traveling to different clients for work? So anytime you've got a legitimate tax deduction, yes, it's worth it. So a lot of people go, is it worth me claiming? It's only small. Well, why not? If you've expended the money or you've racked up the legitimate kilometers, why not claim it? There's no reason not to if you've actually done it. So the thing is with this situation is, one, you've got to make sure you've either got the record. So if you're doing the cents per kilometer method, it's a little bit less onerous on actually keeping those records. But still, you need to have an idea of how you've come up with those kilometers. Head over to the ATO website. There's some really good stuff on there about how you can keep track of kilometers, what records you need to keep, because there's lots of different ways you can claim for motor vehicle expenses. But in particular, when traveling between clients at work, that normally will give rise to a deduction. So make sure you're looking into that, because while you can't claim travel in most situations from home to your workplace, if you're going to a workplace and then have to travel from there to another client and to another client, quite often this will be claimable. Obviously, everyone's situation is going to be different, and it's going to depend on whether you're getting reimbursed for things or where your base of employment is, etc., the type of employment. But there is a good chance that it could be claimable. So I might even be able to share my screen here for those that are watching, and I'll see how I can do that one, because I'll be able to show you a little bit on the ATO website about what they actually state here. So I'll just bring that one up for those watching. So here you've got what you can claim, and it's talking about travel between clients. So they're talking about you can claim for directly between two separate workplaces. So when you've got a second job and you're going from one job to another, you can claim that. Or when you've got from your normal workplace to an alternate workplace that is not your regular workplace. So a client's premises whilst doing duty and then back to your normal workplace. So it's definitely a good idea to keep those. You can see they are claimable. So make sure you're looking into those things, keeping records of them. And that's the biggest thing with any deduction. Make sure you keep your records, because it'll make it a lot easier when it comes to tax time. So that's where a lot of clients fall apart, is they go and then they they don't keep the records, and they come to me and go, oh, I want to claim this, I spent this, but oh, I didn't keep the records for that, and it makes it really difficult. So keep your records as you're ongoing. Like I said, for motor vehicle, it could be as simple as keeping a diary or keeping a logbook, depending on which method you're going to use, and therefore you can make a claim for a deduction. There's no point losing out on a legitimate deduction because you just couldn't be bothered keeping the records. Keep those receipts, get that done, get more tax back. That's what everyone wants. They come to me and go, how do I get more tax back? And the easiest way is to keep records of your deductions. So it's good to see some communication here in the comments on YouTube in particular. So yeah, so I've got a good comment here. Recommend reading the ATO's website for more information about super and benefits taxpayers can claim. So I was in a bit of a response to one of the questions we brought up before. And like I said, the ATO website, I've said it before, it's really good. It provides some really good details on the basics. You can pretty much search most common questions and you'll get some form of answer on there. So it's really good to go on there, do a bit of research. It might not answer everything, but they do have some examples on there, which is really good. And that will allow you to get some basic knowledge. At least then you might be able to go to an accountant and get some further actual personalized knowledge. So use that as a basic to make sure that you've got some knowledge when you're going to speak to a professional about it. So make sure people are dropping your Q&As in here. So you drop your questions so that I can answer them in the chat. So it can be on Facebook or YouTube. So make sure you drop those questions in the chat and then I can answer them. So that's what I really am here to do. Obviously, to start with, we're not going to have huge amounts of people, but the thing is we want to get more and more people on here, more engagement, and that's what I really love doing. So we'll see. We've got another question here. So can you help with budgeting? Have a system to record each week or fortnight? Again, a bit like what I talked about with super, it's not really an area that I can give too much personal advice in. So unfortunately, there's a lot of licensing around these different things. So it's an area I do steer clear of giving completely customized personal advice. But you can see I did do a video on my YouTube channel a while back talking about how I manage my budget. So personally, I've got a Google Sheet. It was an Excel spreadsheet. I've switched it over to a Google Sheets so I can access it on the go. But pretty much that runs my budget. So I've done an initial budget to kind of work out, okay, how much do I spend on each different item? And I like to go as detailed as possible. I think the more items you can list, then it's better, because if you've got every single thing listed, it's less likely you're going to have a surprise expense come up. So, and then pretty much I update it once a week. It takes me about 15 minutes or so. And that pretty much covers all of my expenses. And then I know exactly what I've got left for each different thing. So I've got my budget broken down into columns. One might be groceries, I've got spending, it might be utilities for electricity, gas bills, etc. And then I update that once a week and I know what I've got left for each category. And then obviously I can do adjustments if one category is running low and there's a reason I might be able to borrow from another one, etc. But it's really easy and it doesn't take me that long, but it keeps me on top of things. So then I have a separate account for my spending money, and therefore I know I can quickly bring up my internet banking. I know exactly how much I've got for spree spending money, and I can spend that whenever. Quite often it just goes on food, which is, yeah, I don't like looking at the total budget when I see how much I spend on eating out, and that's something I'm trying to work on. But at least I know, okay, whatever's in that account is guilt-free spending. So there's really easy ways to budget without it being an onerous task that you go, oh, I can't be bothered updating my budget, therefore you never do it, therefore you fall behind on it. Or the same, you don't want to be running such a tight budget where you go, no, I can't even afford to buy one coffee. You want to have a budget that's flexible. You don't want to under budget. So that's an area where I think a lot of people go wrong, is that they set really tight restrictions on their budget. They might give themselves $50 a week for spending money, but if you're always spending more than that, then you're having to chip into other areas of your budget. And then once you start chipping in, you go, oh, well, I've already borrowed $50 from this account this week. I'll just draw $50 out of my savings as well. And that's when your budget goes wrong. So if you set yourself a bit more leniency, if you know that you're going to spend $75 a week, make sure you set yourself that $75 a week. You don't want to run such a tight budget that you end up borrowing from everywhere else and then it just destroys your budget. And therefore, that budget is useless because you've never actually used it. So anyway, it's cool to see over here. I'm looking over here towards TikTok and we've got a few comments coming in over here, so which is really cool. So yeah, it's the first time I've gone live on TikTok. So yeah, if you haven't got TikTok, head over there. Follow me, Ethan Rooshock, over there as well. I do have about 20,000 followers on there, which is pretty crazy because I did have a viral video. So if you want to know more about that, head on my YouTube channel because I did a video talking about that and what effect that had. So just quickly on that topic, people hear about making money online and going viral, etc. And people go, oh, that's going to make them rich, but it doesn't always happen. So like on TikTok, like I said, I've got 20,000 followers on there, but I never actually monetized that because it wasn't something I was interested in at the time. So just, a little side note there. So got another question coming here. So is an advanced diploma of accounting enough to become an accountant, or do you need a degree aside from the experience required? So no, I don't think that you need a degree to be an accountant, but it's going to depend on where you want to work and what type of firm you want to work for, or if you want to get into commerce as such. So I did the degree, but I was working in the industry before that, and while I was doing the degree. And honestly, the hands-on experience, you learn so much more than what you did through the degree, especially for tax accounting and for working in professional practice. You're going to quickly learn more on the job. So what I found is the degree was set up more so if you wanted to be an accountant in a really big company. I found that it didn't really teach you those day-to-day things that sometimes you need for tax returns. So that's something I would advise is try and get, if you're looking to get into the industry, try and get some, even if it's some work experience. I did some unpaid work experience to start with, and that was really beneficial because it allowed me to learn, one, did I want to go into that career? And it just started me off of learning what it's actually like. So I think that would be the one piece of advice I'd give to anyone looking to get into the industry is see if there's someone that you can maybe do a bit of an internship or do some unpaid work there, or it might be a little bit of casual work. You might be doing 5 hours a week for someone while you're studying. Just get into the industry. Another area is to learn bookkeeping. So bookkeeping is one of the first things I did when I was working in an accounting firm. Bookkeeping is a great way to start learning about accounting on maybe not the tax knowledge, but you're learning about transactions and actual accounting principles. So learn stuff. That's the biggest thing, is that get on there. Like I said to people, start your own little small businesses where you have to do your own accounting. And then therefore you're doing your own bookkeeping. So there's lots of different ways you can learn things, and that'll get you some of that experience, because I know it can be hard to get that first job. And you might come out of uni even with a 4-year degree completed, but you've got no experience and people may not want to hire. I know personally, when I get to the stage of hopefully hiring people, that degree isn't going to be the one and all thing that I need people to have to hire them. It's going to be a combination of, obviously they're going to need some kind of background study, but it's going to be about the background study, their experiences, and also about the type of person they are. If I'm looking for someone that I think is going to need to sit in front of clients, I'm going to look for someone that's a good communicator. So look into ways to improve your communication skills. That may be something like starting a podcast, starting a YouTube channel, talking about your journey of learning about and you're studying accounting. There's lots of different ways that you can get into the industry. But what you want to do is trying to get that experience and get those people skills, because it doesn't matter whether you're behind the computer just doing the data entry or whether you're going to be talking to clients. In some way, you're going to be communicating, whether that's with other staff members, whether it's with clients. So communication skills, I think, are really important, and they go hand in hand with knowledge of actual technical skills, as well as about your actual degree that's behind you. So hopefully that's helped a bit of that. It's not all just one thing. Don't stress too much about that. I've got to have this 4-year degree. That's the only way into the industry, because it's not. Definitely a diploma in accounting will definitely help you. But like I said, if that's the case, then you might be going up against someone that's got a degree. So look at other ways that you can differentiate yourself. And that might be through, okay, look at these businesses I've run and the experience I've got, or look at the way I communicate, because I've been able to do that through social media, or I've written blog posts about accounting things I've learned, or just my journey of it. Lots of different ways that you can impress an employer. And I think that'll become more and more true going forward, is that people are going to look for different skill sets. We're not always going to be looking at that book knowledge, because I think people are quickly realizing business doesn't run like that. And we're going to need a different skill set going forward. 20 years ago, the ability to talk through social media and emails wouldn't have been important. Whereas now, if you can't write an email or you don't know how to communicate with people in modern forms, you're going to be left behind. So like I said, there's different ways that you can really build your skill set to prepare yourself for the workforce. Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So this is such a true comment, and it really backs up what I'm saying. Is that great stuff, Ethan. 100% agree that you can't be too tight on your budget. It is all about structure and consistency, and that is so true. Is it's all about just having that consistent budgeting and having some kind of structure, rather than trying to be too strict on it. And like I said, I keep coming back to it, but if you're so strict on your budget, it'll fall apart. And then when it falls apart, that's when it can completely fall apart and you just ignore it. So structure and consistency is so important with budgeting, but that's true for like a lot of things when it comes to business and finance. is consistency is really important. People talk about compounding effect, and therefore continuously investing and putting consistent investments in and the benefits to that. And again, that comes back to consistency, comes back to business by putting in different principles or different procedures and doing them consistently over and over again. One, you get better at things, and two, it allows you to be more efficient in the long term. Consistency is really important in a lot of aspects of life. So that's a really good comment there. So something else, so make sure you, like I said, people keep leaving those comments. So I'll be on probably for another 10 or 15 minutes. So still time to get some questions in. But there was a few other things that I did want to talk about, which was to talk about family trusts. I had a few questions come through early through the week on that. So that's something I did want to talk about briefly. So some of the questions I had was talking about the taxation of trusts. So I have done a video on how trusts are taxed. And I've also done another video on the different types of business structures there are. So trusts are one of those that people will commonly use in business. So the question that I was asked was, if you've got a family trust, for instance, or a discretionary trust, that's what we're going to talk about, is what's the flexibility like? Are you locked into this? Do you have to have that trust for the rest of your life? So the way it kind of works is that we kind of have two main trust types that we'll be using in business quite often. So discretionary trust and fixed trust. So discretionary is that it gives you more discretion up to the trustee, which again, that's a bit more of a complex topic, but to discretionally advise how that trust will handle their assets and therefore how it will handle the income. So there'll be beneficiaries of the trust, and that income could be distributed on different ways each year. So again, it's discretionary. It's up to the trustee to determine that. So it's not locked in. It doesn't have to be 50-50 for your whole time that you've got that trust. So it does give you that flexibility. So, and then you don't have to have that trust forever. You can close up the trust. You can sell up the assets in the trust, move them to personal names, or you may never buy them back. You're definitely not locked into that for the entire life of you. So yeah, that's a question I was asked during the week of how trusts work and whether they're worth it. It's, yeah, again, trusts are starting to get into a legal thing, and you really need to get the proper advice and get the structure set up right from the start and make sure what you're doing is proper. You don't want to set something up in a way that you think is going to work, and therefore it's not actually set up the right way. And if you get an audit done, it doesn't hold up, and therefore some of the tax benefits that you thought you might have been getting disappear. So that's the worst case scenario, that you spend all this money on a legal setup and it doesn't work out to be either, one, legal for what you're trying to do, or two, it might not be tax efficient. So I've seen people come and go, and the same way they try to overcomplicate things. Like, oh, I've got to have a trust, I've got to have a company. And then when I sit down and go, okay, well, why are you doing that? And it's because James down the road, he set one up and he said he was saving lots of tax, but everyone's tax situation is different. And therefore you don't want to just set something up, pay fees if you actually might be in the same tax position, and therefore maybe in a negative position because you've had to pay fees or legal setup fees, and you might have ongoing asset compliance fees if it's a company, higher tax accounting fees. So you just got to be a bit clever when you set up these kind of things, that you've got that advice from the start, and therefore it's not costing you huge amounts down the track. So it looks like we've still got 6 people watching, but I think I'll start to wrap things up now. So I do appreciate anyone that's dropped by. Make sure you do hit that like button before you leave though. I've got 8 likes. Can we get to 10 in the next couple minutes while I wrap things up? So again, I want to make this hopefully a weekly thing. So hopefully Wednesday nights, make sure you are sending me questions, whether it's via Instagram, whether it's a comment on a YouTube video. I'll bank those up and I'll bring them into the next chat like I have today. And I'll still continue on my YouTube channel with a video hopefully every Sunday. So we'll have a live on Wednesdays, and then we'll have the actual video on Sundays. And hopefully this actual live will be getting turned into a podcast in the next few days. So make sure that if that's the platform you prefer, then make sure you keep an eye out there, because I'll be bringing it into the podcast form. So you'll be able to get it on Spotify or Apple or Google, and you'll be able to listen to me hopefully if you're in the car or things like that. So I know what I'm trying to do is cater to the different needs of everyone. I know people like to consume media in different ways, whether it's YouTube, written form, podcasting. So there's lots of different ways. So I'll try to spread out, do a bit of everything. So make sure you leave comments. Let me know what kind of topics you want me to cover. I thank everyone for being here. You've been here for nearly half an hour, which is really awesome. And hopefully I'll see you all again next Wednesday. Thank you.